Good morning. This is St. Mark's Episcopal Church, Richmond, Texas. I am Chris Abbott, a Christian formation teacher. This is Kids Kingdom, designed for elementary age students in grades 1 through 5. If you're interested in joining the class and you have not already done so, please call the church office or contact me and we'll be happy to get you signed up and included so that you'll be receiving the little bags of supplies in order to complete the lessons. We are continuing with our study of Genesis in the Old Testament. Today we're going to be talking about the story of Esau and Jacob as we move forward in our study. Let's begin first in prayer. Dear God, we know that you are here now, watching over us, guiding us with a plan for our lives. Help us to remember that you love us and that you are with us every step of our journey. Amen. Now, before we actually get into the story of Esau and Jacob, if you would open your Children's Illustrated Bible, first of all, to page 44 and 45. And I just want quickly to take a quick look at that. We're not going to read this in detail, and I'm just going to kind of fill you in on what's happening here. The situation is that Sarah has died. Remember, we had Sarah and Abraham. Sarah has died. Abraham is becoming pretty elderly, and he is worried about who is going to marry his son Isaac. And his desire is that Isaac marry somebody from his birthplace, back where Abraham had come from. So Abraham sends off a servant to where he had been born, and the servant has an opportunity and bumps into Rebecca, who is very warm and welcoming to the servant. And eventually what happens is Rebecca comes back with the servant to meet Isaac and Abraham. And eventually what happens is that Rebecca marries Isaac. So that kind of brings you up to the point where we are right now. So we have Isaac married to Rebecca. The other thing you need to know to fully understand this story is they're going to talk about something about a blessing in this story. And at the time that this event occurred, the blessing from God was like the most important thing that a family could have. And it was a way to connect the past and the present and the future. And this blessing from God was usually given to the oldest son in the family. And once that blessing was given to that child, you couldn't take that blessing back. It was God's blessing. You couldn't take it back. You couldn't take it away. You couldn't redo it. You couldn't give it to somebody else. And once it was done, that was the way it was, and that person would have that blessing. And this wasn't just about inheriting property or getting something from somebody who had died before you. This was God's ultimate blessing, and so therefore it was very, very important. So keep that in mind as we're reading this. Okay, so if you would turn now to page 46 in the Children's Illustrated Bible, and we will read about Esau and Jacob. After many years of childlessness, Rebekah gave birth to twin boys. The elder, who was covered from head to toe with thick red hair, they named Esau. The younger, born holding his twin's heel, they called Jacob. Esau, whom Isaac loved best, grew up a strong and adventurous hunter, while Jacob, his mother's favorite, preferred staying at home. One day, Jacob was cooking some lentil stew when his brother came in faint with hunger. "Quick, I'm famished. Give me some of that," Esau demanded. I will, Jacob replied, if you give up your rights as firstborn to me. Esau laughed. What use to me are rights when what I want is a good meal? Then give me your word. And Esau gave his word, and so exchanged his birthright for a plateful of stew and some bread. Isaac, old and blind and near death, asked Esau to shoot a deer and prepare the dish of venison he so loved. I want to taste it one last time so that I may bless you before I die, he said. Rebekah overheard these words and determined that Jacob, not Esau, should receive his father's blessing. I will cook the dish, she said, and you must take it to your father in Esau's place. Go now and fetch me 2 young goats. But he'll know I'm not Esau, said Jacob. Esau is covered in hair and my skin is smooth. He will know that I am deceiving him, and he will put a curse on me. Do as I say, and all will be well. And Rebekah dressed Jacob in his brother's clothes, covered his hands and shoulders with goat skin. She gave him some bread and a bowl of stew made from the goat's meat, and then she sent him to his father. Who are you? Isaac asked. Come near me so that I may feel you. The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. Are you really my eldest son? I am, Jacob lied. So Isaac was deceived. Believing that it was Esau who was with him, he ate the food that had been brought to him. He blessed Jacob and promised that he should have everything due to the firstborn. May you be happy and prosperous, and may good fortune come to all who wish you well. Scarcely had Jacob left his father's tent than Esau arrived home from the hunt. Expertly, he prepared the dish of venison and took it to Isaac. Here's your favorite dish, father, he said. Who are you? Asked the old man. I'm Esau, your oldest son. Then who is it who has just been with me and to whom I have given my blessing? Isaac asked, his voice trembling. When Esau heard his father's words, he cried out bitterly. He realized the trick that had been played, and he begged his father to bless him and give him his rights. I will bless you, said Isaac, but I cannot give you what I have already promised to your brother. Isaac knew that the blessing was given before God, and it could not be altered. Esau was filled with hatred for Jacob. He knew that Isaac would soon be dead, and so he planned to kill Jacob as soon as the period of mourning for his father's death had passed. But Rebekah heard of the plot and was able to warn Jacob. Your brother is planning to kill you, she told him. Go at once to my brother Laban in Haran and stay there until Esau's anger cools. I will let you know when it's safe to return. So Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. Well, another exciting story. Indeed, indeed. So let's make sure that we understand all of this. So how are the boys different? Well, they're twins to begin with. Esau was born first, and he's a hunter, and he's an adventurous person, and he likes the outdoors, and he likes to be outside, and he's a strong hunter, and he's Isaac's favorite. On the other hand, Jacob is the second twin, the younger one of the two. He's Rebekah's favorite, and he prefers to stay home with Rebekah. So the boys are very, very different to begin with. Okay, so the first trick is here's Esau. He's been out hunting and working and tending the flock, and he's exhausted and he's hungry, and he comes in and he says, feed me, I gotta eat, I'm starving. And Jacob says, oh yeah, sure, I've got some nice stew here. I'll be happy to give you this stew if you give me your birthright. And, well, I guess Esau, he's so hungry, and maybe he thinks Jacob is teasing him. He doesn't really realize what he's asking. He says, yeah, sure, you can have my birthright. Just give me that stew. I want to eat, and now. So, he does that. All right. In the meantime, Isaac is pretty old and he's blind. And we need to consider that he can't see very well what's going on. So, Rebecca has a plan that if Jacob could put together this very special meal that Isaac wants to give to, that Isaac wants to eat before he dies, before he gives off his blessing from God, that maybe Jacob could end up with the blessing. So, Rebecca does the cooking, does all of this fancy meal for him, and dresses him up in Esau's clothes, and it's all a big trick. So he goes in and he gives it to Isaac, and Isaac gives him the blessing from God, and Isaac thinks that he has blessed Esau, whereas in fact he's actually blessed Jacob, and he thinks that's all done. And lo and behold, here comes Esau home from his hunting trip, and he prepares the meal, and he takes it into his dad, and Isaac says, well, wait a minute, who are you? I just ate this meal. And then it becomes evident to everybody what has gone on, that there was a trick that went on. Unfortunately, remember that once that big blessing from God has been given, it can't be changed, it can't be taken away, can't take it back. So, naturally, Esau's pretty upset. He's the oldest. The birthright is supposed to go to him. The blessing is supposed to go to him, and his brother has tricked him. So, he says, okay, as soon as my dad dies, I'm going to kill my brother and get my birthright back. And Rebecca, she hears about this plan, and of course, her favorite is Jacob, so she warns Jacob, you better get out of here. You better take off. Go and be with my brother until Esau cools down a little bit. So, the question is, do we always know what God's plan for us is? Probably not. God is guiding us. He's directing us. He's trying to help us do what we should be doing, but we may not know what that guide is in life. But we have to put our trust in God's plan and know that He has our best interests at heart, and we should be doing what God is telling us to do. So, has there been a time in your life when you had a plan, or you were presented with a plan and you were trying to think whether this was the right thing to do? Well, I'll tell you one time that it happened to me was I had just retired from teaching, and Father Bert, who was the rector here a long time ago, found out I was a retired teacher and thought, aha, now I have a teacher for Sunday school. Okay, he was right. 10 years later, I'm still teaching Sunday school at St. Mark's. So I took that. There was trust in God's plan, and that Father Bert was right, that I was a retired teacher, and maybe I was the one that could do that. And so, yep, I put my trust in Father Bert, and I put my trust in Bert's plan, and so here we are. So, now, there have been a lot of names to try and keep straight. Abraham and Sarah and Isaac and Rebecca and Esau and Jacob. And so what you're going to be doing this week is making a family tree to try and keep track of who all these different people are. So, in your bag that says family tree, November the 8th. You have 6 pieces of shiny, it's actually photo paper, 6 pieces. And you will be getting a half sheet, or you have gotten a half sheet of poster board. And what you're going to do is you're going to draw simple little pictures of the 6 people that we have studied so far on the 6 pieces of white paper, using, by the way, Sharpie or marking pen. Not crayon won't work, colored pencil won't work, it's got to be Sharpie or marking pen. And of course the story started out, when we started reading, we started with Abraham and Sarah. Okay, I put the plus there because Abraham and Sarah get married. Okay, and Abraham and Sarah have a son named Isaac. So I drew the line from Sarah and Abraham down here over to Isaac. And as we just read today, Rebecca becomes Isaac's wife. So there's the plus there. And Isaac and Rebecca have 2 sons, 2 twins. And we'll remember that Esau is the older of the 2, and Jacob is the younger of the 2. Esau being the firstborn, and Jacob being the secondborn of the twins. And look at the nice red hair put on Esau, because Esau was supposed to be the one with all the red hair. And he's the one that's been out hunting and exploring and taking care of the different flocks. So, that's your responsibility this week. That's your activity, is to have all 6 of these on the poster board and illustrated and glued on so that you can remember who all of these people are. And once again, I would sure love to see some of the things that you've been doing, your Abraham bundles, your stars, your Adam and Eve. And here we are again with a family tree. I would love to see these. Have your folks take a picture and send it to me so I can see what they look like. But this is the assignment for, or the activity for this week is the family tree. Okay. As you know, we always end our session with the Lord's Prayer. So the Lord be with you. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. This concludes the Kids Kingdom lesson for Sunday, November the 8th, 2020. I will look forward to seeing you again next week as we continue our study of the book of Genesis. So, goodbye from St. Mark's, Richmond, Texas. Bye-bye.